Hello. What is going on with everybody out there? I'm back. I'm your hostess. Back to the basics. This is season 2, episode 30. So this episode, we're going to be analyzing an article from the Washington Post that actually just came out on the 22nd of September, 2020. Up here on the screen, I have FDA guidance, and there's actually a reason for that. Let me take some of this stuff down off of here, including the logo. Actually, I might leave that logo right up there. All right. Start unpacking this article. So, this is an article again from the Washington Post, dated September 22nd, 2020. So the headline reads, FDA poised to announce tougher standards for a COVID-19 vaccine that make it unlikely one will be cleared by election day. That's the main headline. And then the subtitle is, the guidance is part of an effort to boost transparency and public trust as polls show many are skeptical a vaccine will be safe and effective. This article was written by Lori McGinley and Carolyn Y. Johnson. The Food and Drug Administration is expected to spell out a tougher new standard for an emergency authorization of a COVID-19 vaccine as soon as this week that will make it exceedingly difficult for any vaccine to be cleared before Election Day. Notice the wording there. Tougher new standard for an emergency authorization. So it seems there's a big rush for this COVID-19 vaccine. Back to the article. The agency is issuing the guidance to boost transparency and public trust as it approaches the momentous decision of whether a prospective vaccine is safe and effective. Public health experts are increasingly worried that President Trump's repeated predictions of a COVID-19 vaccine by November 3rd, coupled with the administration's interference in federal science agencies, may prompt Americans to reject any vaccine as rushed and potentially tainted. You're darn right. I'm going to skip the next paragraph. The guidance, which is far more rigorous than what was used for emergency clearance of hydroxychloroquine or convalescent plasma, is an effort to shore up confidence in an agency that made missteps during the social distancing situation. Now, again, for those who are watching, I am avoiding certain words due to, the YouTube community guidelines, and for anyone who may or may not flag this video or this commentary. So there are certain words that, as you can see, I say COVID-19 instead of the other word, and I'm saying social distancing phenomenon for the other one. While it is being reviewed by the White House Office of Management and Budget, elements of it are already being shared with vaccine makers. Under it, the FDA would ask manufacturers seeking an emergency authorization a far quicker process than a formal approval. To follow participants in late-stage clinical trials for a median of at least 2 months, starting after they receive a second vaccine shot, according to 2 people familiar with the situation who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss information before it is made public. Again, the words emergency authorization. And even look at the wording on here. To follow participants in late-stage clinical trials for a median of at least 2 months. So a median, that's like what, an average of at least 2 months? Interesting. Let me keep going here. As a sign the vaccine works, the agency also is likely to look for at least 5 severe cases of COVID-19, the disease caused by the crown virus, in the placebo group for each trial, as well as some cases of the disease in older people. These standards, plus the time it will take companies to prepare their applications and the agency to review the data, make it highly improbable any vaccine will be authorized before the election. The agency has previously said any vaccine would have to be 50% more effective than a placebo. Only 50%, FDA? Really? Now, I am going to go on a little bit of a rant and I'm going to get back to the article. So, for those who are watching and or who may be listening, I don't really care if some people think that I'm an anti-vaxxer. It's not about anti-vax or if I'm pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine. The fact of the matter is that I think for myself and I do my own research. And I encourage all those who are watching and or listening to do the same. And I like to analyze. Now, for what I have researched, it takes a long minute for a vaccine to be placed on the market. It's not just animal studies and human trials. Again, after even all that is done, these the manufacturers need time to review the data. Also, during those trials, think about it. It needs to be a lengthy period of time to have data in order to study trends. And it shouldn't just be a placebo group, or could also be known as the control group. There should also be what? Double-blind studies. And there should also be a cohort study. And a cohort study is, oh my goodness, that's a long-term study. Like we're talking 10 years. And in some of the literature that I have researched, specifically coming out of the London School of Medicine, there are many health professionals who have stated that it takes about 10 years to get a vaccine on the market. 10 years. And if the process is expedited, 6 years. So anywhere between 6 to 10 years it takes for a vaccine to come to market. I'm going to have to go back and get the source and put that in the description box. Back to the article. It's hard to imagine how an emergency use authorization could possibly occur before December, said Paul Offit, director of the Vaccine Education Center at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and a member of the FDA's Advisory Board on Vaccines. Let me scroll down a little bit more. Moderna and Pfizer began their trials on July 27th and took about a month to enroll 15,000 people, the halfway point for their planned enrollment of 30,000 people. The trials are designed for people to receive their second shot either 3 or 4 weeks later. 2 months of follow-up would make it unlikely the company would have enough data before mid-November. Now, I do have a little bubble, and this is my own personal commentary. Now, again, I am a medic. And from what I've seen, looking at the CDC guidelines, particularly for many of the vaccines out there, a second shot shouldn't be administered prior to 4 weeks or 30 days from the initial shot. Particularly if all one has to do is just go to, cdc.org and look up the adult routine scheduled vaccination for anthrax, which is it's a multi-series shot, it has a multi-series shot vaccination schedule. So their second shot should not be given at the 3-week mark. That's a no-go. Because that would be in conflict with what the CDC has on their website. Back to the article. The FDA, in a statement, noted the agency had previously said it would issue additional guidance. This is the reason why whenever I started the video, I had what I had up there on what it will seek for an emergency clearance. Again, the word emergency. Now check out this next sentence. The new guidance is just one way of trying to shore up confidence in the agency. FDA allies intent on building trust are also spotlighting agency career scientists, noting that the one overseeing the vaccine approval process has threatened to quit if he is pressured to greenlight a vaccine before he is convinced it is safe and effective. Hold up, but y'all just said the agency has previously said any vaccine would have to be 50% more effective than a placebo. So looks like double talk if you ask me. And in my bubble, in my commentary, I put PR move. It's just a public relations move. So now they're going to bring out every scientist, infection disease control expert, everybody and their mother, to try to convince people that, that the vaccine is the answer. But administration critics note such efforts are undercut on an almost daily basis by overly rosy and contradictory comments by Trump and continued revelations about administration actions to strong arm government scientists and regulators and curb their independence. In addition, the FDA guidance is unlikely to satisfy some critics who say the agency should not use an emergency authorization for a vaccine at all. I'm going to read that sentence one more time for the people in the back. You guys might be chilling out, what I'm saying, in the bleachers, but I'm going to say it one more time. In addition, the FDA guidance is unlikely to satisfy some critics who say the agency should not use an emergency authorization for a vaccine at all. Things are so revved up right now that there is quite a possibility that the American people won't accept a vaccine because of all the things that are going on, said Peter Hotez, Dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine. U.S. history is littered with good vaccines that get voted off the island because of bad public perceptions. Let me read the quote again from Mr. Peter Hotez. U.S. history is littered with good vaccines that get voted off the island because of bad public perception. So you see what I'm saying, folks? This isn't about, as far as our health. They care more about public perception than they do about approving a safe and effective vaccine. Are you not seeing what this Peter Hotez just said? A dean of the National School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine. So these people care more about, their own perception than they do about doing, as far as doing the work of taking the time and having a thorough process of approving a safe and effective vaccine. Of all the things that this person could have said, and I have my own commentary here, are vaccines good? Here's the question. What did we do before vaccines? And I know some of y'all are going to be real, you're going to be kind of smart and be like, well, people died. Right. I know that people died and people are going to continue to die. I'm going to die. I just don't know when my expiration date is. What did we do prior to vaccines besides die? Well, back when we had an agrarian economy, predominantly based in agriculture, we were out there doing manual labor, moving around a lot more. So we were getting more exercise, and the food wasn't littered with all these GMOs and God knows what else that's in our food. You know, a person can't even go into the grocery store and barely read off the ingredients that's on the back of some of this stuff. I mean, I literally find myself sounding words out. Getting back to the article. But before I do, this just shows the personal bias here. Good vaccines. Okay. Who defines what a good vaccine is? And are vaccines good? So prior to vaccines, what we do? Exercise, and we ate food that wasn't, again, littered with all this with all these GMOs, genetically modified organisms, which the good old FDA said, oh, it's grass. It's generally recognized as safe. What does generally recognized as safe means? It's either safe or not. Not, oh, it's generally recognized as safe. What? I mean, some of y'all must really think that the average person is stupid, like a person can't read and research. Let me get back to the article. Just last week, concerns about the FDA's autonomy deepened after Alex Azar, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, revoked its authority and that of other uh, health and human service agencies to sign new regulations reserving that power for himself. Now, mind you, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, just to remind some people out there, remember, the Secretary of Health and Human Services is a cabinet position. Y'all heard what I said? Mm-hmm. Exactly. A cabinet position. So we have the Secretary of Health and Human Services revoking the FDA's authority? Huh. So it's up to one person. So it only takes one person to green light the COVID-19 vaccine? Huh. Okay. Interesting. In a statement issued late Sunday, Health and Human Services said the change minimizes litigation risk, prevents potential future abuse of authority, and is consistent with congressional intent. It said the move, made after a department review of rulemaking procedures, won't affect the FDA's work on vaccine and COVID-19 treatments. How could it not? You took away the agency's authority. So it will impact the work on vaccines and COVID-19 treatments. Do you guys see the messery in this? This is a bunch of messery. It's a whole bunch of shenanigans going on around here. Still, several FDA experts criticize the timing and the fraught run up to a vaccine approval decision. Why take this health decision? Here we go. Why take this health decision making away from public health agencies like FDA at this particular moment, said Patricia Zettler, an Ohio State University law professor and former associate chief counsel at the FDA. And here's what I said. Research the FDA and their track record. I already mentioned the GMOs and, the grass, and person started going down that rabbit hole. You're going to run into Monsanto and DuPont and a whole bunch of other people. Public confidence also has been eroded by efforts by a top Health and Human Service political appointee, now on leave, and his advisor to silence a top official at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention who stressed the seriousness of the novel COVID-19 and to change and delay the CDC's regular scientific missives, the morbidity and mortality weekly reports, if they deviated from the president's upbeat message. So now some people are censoring other people just because they have a difference of opinion of what this current administration is saying to the public. You see, there's a lot of double talk going on around here. So we have a Health and Human Services person, this Mr. Alex Azar, pretty much reserving the power to greenlight the vaccine. Pretty much this person can overrule whatever the FDA says anyway. Then again, appointee talking about silencing a top official at the CDC, at the Center for Disease Control. Interesting. Let me continue with the article. Concerns about the CDC were ratcheted up in recent days when the agency posted, then removed language from its website that said the COVID-19 spreads via airborne transmission. The latest example of it backtracking on its own guidance. Do you not see the wishy-washiness of this? Let me keep going. The agency said the guidance was an early draft posted by mistake. You know what? Here's my note. Now, this is the CDC that is being spoken of, spoken of specifically in the paragraph of this Washington Post article dated 22nd September 2020. Okay, CDC, Center of Disease Control, you guys are supposed to be the experts. The only person that I'm tracking above you is the freaking World Health Organization. That's right. Dr. Tedros. Right. Yeah. World Health Organization is the only one that I'm tracking that is above you. So how are you putting out information in error, as you guys say, which I don't believe that. And here's what it comes back to. This is my own personal note. Is the source valid and consistent? Think for yourself. I'm not the only person who has highlighted this. There have been other content creators who have also pretty much stated, and I'm paraphrasing, that there's a lot of double talk and wishy-washiness and inconsistency with the CDC and on, like, as far as their website. I'm going to read this again, and then I'm going to move on to the next paragraph. Concerns about the CDC were ratcheted up in recent days when the agency posted, then removed, language from its website that said the COVID-19 spreads via airborne transmission. The latest example of it backtracking on its own guidance. The agency said the guidance was an early draft posted by mistake. I don't believe that. Moving on, FDA officials have indicated that if the vaccine data on safety and efficacy are strong, it will consider issuing an emergency use authorization, a temporary approval that can be granted much more quickly and with less documentation than a full approval, which could take 6 to 9 months. Now listen to this. The only other time the FDA has authorized a vaccine on an emergency basis was in 2005 when it cleared the anthrax vaccine for military personnel considered at high risk of an anthrax attack. I'm going to have to change my banner because none of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, Department of Defense, and or any other military branch, element, or government entity. Once again, none of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, Department of Defense, and or any other military branch, element, or government entity. I say this because, again, the military should remain apolitical without politics, period. I'm going to leave that scrolling on the screen. But that right there tells you who is going to be first in line. And for those who are serving and those who have served, you already know what I'm talking about. Here we go. Pfizer said in a statement Tuesday that it still projects having data on the effectiveness of its vaccine by the end of October, if things go well, and will collect safety data for 2 years. Moderna has said it is unlikely to have data in October. AstraZeneca's trial in the United States is halted while investigators try to determine whether a serious neurological problem in one participant in Britain was caused by the vaccine. See? But yet some of you are so pro-vaccine. Some of you are so blindly led down that road. Don't even question what's in the vaccine. How long was the process for the vaccine to even come to market? What studies were done? What data was collected? Who sponsored the study in the first damn place? I mean, think for yourself. It's not about whether you agree or disagree with me. Just think for yourself. I mean, if you're going to be so pro vaccine, okay, when a person asks you something about it, hey, have an answer. Okay, if you're so pro this or pro that, or anti this or anti that, whatever, because all those are just labels, you know what I'm saying? But if you're so, oh, I'm for, the vaccine, well, then, or a vaccine, at least do, if a person asks you, okay, well, why do you think that way? Or why do you believe that way? At least have some decent answers, some answers with some substance. I mean, I've seen someone say, well, if President Trump, doesn't say it, then I don't believe it. Are you serious? You're going to let someone else think for you? Just because of their what, title or authority or whatever else they may or may not have? Back to the article. The FDA and the new guidance is expected to require data for an emergency authorization that is close to that required for a full approval, according to recent comments by official. That's a higher bar than is typical for such an authorization, which requires only that a product, here we go, may be effective and that the likely benefits outweighs the harm. So much for tougher standards, huh? The tougher standard is appropriate, officials have said. Really? Because a vaccine is given to healthy people, not to those who are ill. Wow. Whew. I tell you, common sense is not common around here. So much for those tougher standards. A lot of double talk in this article. I'm going to read over the last sentence. That's a higher bar. You know what? I'll read over both of the last previous sentences of this article. The FDA and the new guidance is expected to require data for an emergency authorization that is close to that required for a full approval, according to recent comments by officials. That's a higher bar than is typical for such an authorization, which requires only that a product may be effective and that the likely benefits outweigh the harms. So it may be effective for all of you pro, vaccine people out there. So the typical requirements is, oh, it may be effective. And the benefits outweighs the harms. Okay. I mean, that's the best y'all can do. The tougher standard is appropriate, officials have said, because the vaccine is given to healthy people, not to those who are ill. But didn't y'all just say that during your trials you were giving it to people who were severe COVID-19 cases? As a sign the vaccine works, the agency also is likely to look for at least 5 severe cases of COVID-19. Oh, so you guys do have to give give it to people who are ill, right? Because that is a sign that the vaccine works. See that? That was said previously in the article. As a sign the vaccine works, the agency also is likely to look for at least 5 severe cases of COVID-19, the disease caused by the crown virus, in the placebo group for each trial, as well as some cases of the disease in older people. The tougher standard is appropriate, officials have said, because the vaccine is given to healthy people, not to those who are ill. So again, here we go with this double talk. Double talk, double talk, double talk. You know what? Y'all are wishy-washy. And this is supposed to be an agency overseeing our food and prescriptions. Y'all are a joke. The agency has acknowledged an emergency authorization will be based on less safety data than would be the case for a regular approval. For that reason, it has said it will require clinical trial participants to be followed for a significant length of time in case they develop problems later. Now, again, a significant length of time. How long is that? The FDA's use of emergency authorizations is shadowed by what critics describe as the botched hydroxychloroquine and plasma episodes. In March, the agency authorized the use of the old malaria drug touted by Trump as a treatment for COVID-19, only to withdraw it when studies showed the drug did not help and pose safety risks for some. So you see, folks, the FDA is not above reproach. Everyone is capable of making mistakes. I'm going to read that last sentence one more time. In March, the agency authorized the use of the old malaria drug, talking about hydroxychloroquine, touted by Trump as a treatment for COVID-19, only to withdraw it when studies showed the drug did not help and pose safety risks for some. In my commentary, here's what I put. FDA's track record could be perceived as serving government over serving the people. I'm going to say that one more time. The FDA's track record could be perceived as serving government over serving the people. You guys make your own Come to your own conclusions. Think for yourself. I'm just here giving out the information. Then on August 23rd, FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn drastically exaggerated the benefits of convalescent plasma at a briefing with Trump and Azar, which is that Health and Human Service cabinet position. He subsequently apologized, but Holly Fernandez Lynch, a bioethicist at the University of Pennsylvania, said the question remains: is the president going to put the screws to the FDA so much that they will speed ahead on a vaccine? Probably. Rachel, okay, capital SACHS, a law professor at Washington University at St. Louis, noted there are concerns that Azar, who has the legal authority to approve drugs, might overrule the FDA if it rejected a vaccine. She said such a move was unlikely and would guarantee many people would refuse to be vaccinated. Well, first of all, how is it unlikely when he just took away the authority of the FDA? That's what he did. Yeah, just last week, concerns about the FDA's autonomy deepened after Alex Azar, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, revoked its authority and that of other health and human services agencies to sign new regulations reserving that power for himself. I don't know what is it. I mean, some people, I don't know what it is with some people and these degrees that some of y'all be getting. Because I swear, some of y'all be getting these degrees, and I don't know what happens to you. Like if you guys, I don't know, stop thinking for yourself. But if he just took away the FDA's authority, then yeah, the move is likely that he could uh overrule the FDA. He took away their authority. So how is that unlikely? She said such a move was unlikely and would guarantee many people would refuse to be vaccinated. Well, of course, but you're a law professor? This is what I'm talking about. And I'm not, you know, trying to bash anybody who's, they want to further their education. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But don't stop thinking for yourself. Here I put in this bubble just to remind you all, Azar is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, a cabinet position. Primary role is to advise the president. So that's the primary role of this person, Mr. Azar, is to advise the president. But now he has legal authority to approve drugs. Interesting. I thought your primary role was to advise, not approve or disapprove of of medicines, prescriptions, vaccines, whatever have you. Do you have a health like a background in medicine? I mean, are you a doctor or a surgeon, Mr. Azar? You see this messery? Yeah, y'all, I know y'all see this messery. And I know y'all are listening to this messery. Now, listen to this person, this one. Brian Harrison, Azar's chief of staff, said, his yes man, said the idea the secretary would greenlight a vaccine over FDA objections was preposterous and betrays ignorance of the transparent process the administration is following to develop and review vaccines. Oh my goodness, it's preposterous. And first of all, I don't really care if you are Mr. Azar's chief of staff. To even do a flat out smack in the face to the American people talking about ignorance ain't really? You really think, Mr. Harrison, that people don't do their own research? That people don't think for themselves? That people aren't researching not just the CDC, World Health Organization, but other medical studies and literature that is outside of the United States? You really think that the average American is ignorant? You know what? See, you can take that statement and stick it where the sun don't shine, because that's just flat out disrespectful. You know what? That's the problem with some people when they get in these high positions. You really think, Negro, I don't really care what color complexion of your skin is, because that was just a ignorant statement right there on your part. You really think because you all up in the cut, you know, near, in that near the inner circle, as they say, as far as the president's cabinet, that, oh, that makes you so much more intelligent than the average American? Please get over yourself. How about you take, a big slice of humble pie for, like, you know indefinitely? Yeah, you need some humble pie indefinitely. Excuse me, y'all. Y'all know I be I go on my rant. But come on. Have y'all really been transparent, Mr. Harrison? You had an appointee pretty much silence a top official of the CDC. And mind you, this guy, what was it? Here we go. Public confidence also has been eroded by efforts by a top Human and Health Services political appointee now on leave and his advisor to silence a top official at the Center for Disease Control and Prevention who stressed the seriousness of the novel COVID-19 and to change and delay the CDC's regular scientific missives, the morbidity and mortality weekly reports if they deviated from the president's upbeat message. So that's transparency, Mr. Harrison. That's transparency. You see, that doesn't sound like transparency to me, but I guess I'm just some dumb black woman that's a joke to you. Anyways, next paragraph. Because of the toxic political environment, the FDA will need the support of respected health leaders and scientists from inside and outside the government for a vaccine decision to be accepted by the public, said Daniel Carpenter, a Harvard University professor of government. Experts such as Anthony S. Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, could strongly influence public opinion with his endorsement, he said. First of all, let me say this one more time for the people in the back, for those who are watching, and for those who are listening. I think for myself, I don't really care what Dr. Fauci, Mr. Fauci endorses. I really don't. I can think for myself. I'm an adult. I'm grown. I can think I can read, I can research, I can run stuff down in the dictionary, the thesaurus, the Farmer's Almanac. We can go all the way. Yeah, exactly. So it's all about bringing out these heavy hitters in the medical field to try to convince us that, oh, just trust the process. No, I'm not trusting the process. All this double talk and wishy-washiness that's going on. Okay, I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs because again, this is all these people talking about, oh, we have to bring out all these people. All these people who were from the George W. Bush administration, the Obama administration. Oh, we got to bring out the FDA commissioner and Lord knows whoever else. We got to stand. We got to combine, with our powers combined. We have to convince the American public, get up out of here with that. There this article, wow. Let me read what's okay. Let me read this. This is highlighted. The FDA career staff itself is trying to reassure the public. Again, reassure the public. They care more about public perception than they care about a what transparent, thorough process in developing a safe and effective vaccine. They care more about public perception, public relations. The FDA career staff itself is trying to reassure the public in a highly unusual move. Peter Marks, the head of the center that oversees vaccine regulation, and 7 other senior career officials vowed in a column to maintain independence to ensure the best possible outcomes for public health. And again, it's a PR move, public relations move. Let's bring out various subject matter experts in the medical field. Think for yourself. Don't be fooled. The agency also has pledged to take any vaccine data to its panel of outside advisors called the Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee before making decisions. The agency has scheduled a public meeting of the panel for October 22nd and said other sessions can be held as needed, depending on when data is available. But some FDA watchers say those steps are not enough and that the agency should forswear use of an emergency authorization for a vaccine. If we don't get this right, we'll see a deep corrosion of trust over the long term, and that will be the darkest legacy for a post-COVID world, said Lawrence Gostin, a public health expert at Georgetown University Law School. So again, it's more, it's Eric Topol, founder and director of Scripps Research Translational Institute, opposes using an emergency authorization in the next several weeks or months. We are not in a high trust mode, and the last thing you want to do is take a shortcut and put everything at risk, he said. He said the agency should not consider such an authorization until at least early next year to ensure it has adequate safety data. Well, even early next year, January, February, March of 2021, that's still not a long enough time. This administration declared national state of emergency on March 13th, 2020. So even early next year is not enough time. It's not a long enough time to, consider emergency authorization of anything. Others say the authorization option must be kept on the table at a time when thousands of people a week are dying from the COVID-19. First of all, Mark Twain, if I'm not mistaken, said there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Statistics can be easily manipulated. I'm going to go on a little rant and then I'm going to close. I'm going to come to a conclusion. When I did some research looking at the Spanish flu of 1918, you know what the projected numbers were? 20 to 100 million deaths. That is a wide discrepancy. So again, 20 to 100 million deaths. Looking at, again, from various sources of information about the Spanish flu of 1918. We're going to have something similar happen again with these numbers for COVID-19. It's going to be a wide discrepancy, a wide disparity, because again, there's statistics. There's also people, and shout out to the Information Man show for even doing a broadcast about this, that again, doctors were being paid to put on people's death certificates, they died from COVID-19. And some of those people weren't even tested for COVID-19. Some of those people could have had pneumonia. So just because that person displayed symptoms of COVID-19, well, you know what? We're going to mark them a COVID-19 death. So how accurate are all these statistics and all these total numbers? Oh, what was it? Like over 200 million people have died, or 200,000. It's like I said, statistics and the numbers that are put out right now. Again, and I understand, because a lot of you are thinking for yourself, and some of you have already caught on to the psychological warfare that's happening. This is a psyops. This is a classic problem, reaction, solution strategy. Well, there's the problem, COVID-19. Now, we're going to watch everybody's reaction. Interesting, the shortage of toilet paper, which again could have been an artificial shortage. Just like what happened, with the Popeyes, chicken, and everybody was out there, again, these people thrive on this. These people are evil. They like to mess with people's minds. They like to mess with our minds. This is what they do. Some people call it mental gymnastics. Doesn't matter. They like to literally pull psychological warfare to see who is going to react in fear and who's going to get angry and who's going to they're watching everything. You don't think that the shadow government isn't watching? I'm not talking about the people that we see on TV. I'm talking about the people that are not even on TV. Back to the article. They note the vaccine probably will be authorized initially only for select high risk groups, such as healthcare workers and the elderly, while more data is gathered. Remember, remember, the only other time the FDA has authorized a vaccine on an emergency basis was in 2005 when it cleared the anthrax vaccine for military personnel considered at high risk of an anthrax attack. If there is definitely evidence of, let me see, efficacy and no significant signal of toxicity or lack of safety, withholding authorization would be an equal sin on the other side, said Khalif. And that is the end of the article. Here is a little bit more of my commentary. Are people dying from COVID-19? In the past, some people's death certificates concluded COVID-19 without testing or definitive diagnosis. Only thing that I can encourage everyone out there to do is think for yourself. Again, this was an article from the Washington Post. Wow, I didn't realize I had went over an hour, so it's about time for me to cut it. Let me stop sharing the article. I'm going to put the link in the description box, and I'll probably also pin it in the comments section. Definitely want to do that. Again, I encourage anyone who is watching or listening to think for yourself. Thank you, first of all, for watching and or listening. I do verbalize a lot because there are certain individuals who do watch me that I am aware of who do have a visual impairment. And I do verbalize because I have to think of, I try to think of everyone who may possibly be watching or listening who may or may not have disabilities. But I hope that everyone is having a successful Saturday. Remember, I love you as a sister. I know that there's some times where I do speak in a stern, abrasive tone, but that's not because I'm bashing or trying to hate on anybody. You know, we have to remember that there is a line between you know, questioning things, thinking for ourselves. There's a line between constructive criticism and bashing. And I think at this point, just looking and listening at what I'm hearing, some people, I believe, don't know the difference. Just because someone may have a difference of opinion doesn't mean that an individual is hating or bashing someone at all. It's just a difference of opinion. I may say something that someone may not like, and they may say something that, that I might not like. But that doesn't mean that we're hating or bashing. There's a difference between constructive criticism and then a full out, drag, as what some people may say. But anyway, I like to end on a on a positive note. Like I said, I hope you all are having a successful Saturday. I love you as a sister. Again, none of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, Department of Defense, and or any other military branch, element, or government entity. I'm going to say it one more time. None of my statements are endorsed by the United States Army, Department of Defense, and or any other military branch, element, or government entity. Simply just here, putting out information, encouraging everyone watching or listening to think for themselves. Don't be fooled, and just keep your eyes and ears. I'm telling you. Whew, the inconsistency in this article, the double talk is wow. Something else. The Most High be with you to lead, guide you, and protect you. Lead, guide, and protect your footsteps. And with that, I'm gone.